It's a good day to brew, baby. What is up, YouTube? It's your boy Millsy, back with Hometown Commander, back for another episode of Millsy Brews, the show where I brew my version 1.0 deck list of the commanders run us on my quest out brew the magic world. As always, the deck list is going to be down in the description for you below. Those I'd really appreciate it if you could interact with the video, like, comment, subscribe, consider becoming a member of the channel, checking out all the links down in the description. I'd really appreciate it. Today we're looking at a commander that I actually had started to put a deck together for in OTJ, but it just didn't make it in the content cycle. Didn't make it in the Mono Resonance 3 content cycle, and we're finally doing it. That's Dihada, Binder of Wills, a Mardu Planeswalker that can be your commander, a 5 loyalty Planeswalker that has 3 pretty cool abilities. The +2 says that up to 1 target legendary creature you control. It doesn't say you control, I just realized it just says, oh, that's better. Gains Vigilance, Lifelink, and Indestructible until your next turn. Reveal the top 4 cards of your library in the -3. Put any number of legendary cards from among them into your hand and the rest in the battlefield. In your graveyard, sorry. Jeez, graveyard. Create a treasure for each card put into your graveyard this way. And then -11, gain control of all non-land permanents until end of turn. Untap them. They gain haste until end of turn. Dihada is fun for a lot of reasons. Mainly, well, she cares about legendaries, so that's what we're going to do. The deck cares about legends, and legends are going to matter. But our -3 does make treasures. Now, notice that you don't have to put the legendaries into your hand. You can dump them into your graveyard for more treasures. And treasures are useful, right? There's so many ways to pay off treasures. We do have a few of those in the deck. And then I have actually had the privilege of -11 in a Dihada deck. And getting to take control of all non-land permanents on the turn, untapping them, giving them haste, is a brutal ability. And it's not very difficult with Dihada to +2 Dihada, take a creature you control, give it Vigilance, Lifelink, and Indestructible, and allow it to just block for Dihada in those early turns to keep it alive and get your way up to -11. The -3 is a great ability, and I think it works really well for us. So we're just going to kind of talk about really what this deck's about, which is play your favorite legends. Play your legends that work well together. Play your legends that care about treasures, because we have lots of ways to pay all those off, and let's just have some fun. There's a great way to talk about legends, and I think there's a couple legends that we really benefit from Assassin's Creed. Aya of Alexandria, 4-mana 4/3 assassin with menace and lifelink that say whenever an historic creature you control deals combat damage to a player, we make it assassin. So historic is artifact, legendary, or saga. So all of our legendary creatures are going to be getting assassins when they hit a player. Bayek of Siwa gives all of our creatures our historic creatures double strike on our turn, which is a great thing. That, of course, pairs really well with Aya, as well as some other on-hit abilities, right? Giving us more and more value. Boromir, Warden of the Tower, says that whenever an opponent casts a spell, if no mana was spent to cast it, you counter it, and then we could sack it to give all of our creatures indestructible, a way to protect the board and make sure that we can prevent one of those nasty board wipes. Kadric's Soulkindler works so well in the deck. In fact, it came in the deck. The Ledger rule doesn't apply to tokens you control. And it says whenever another non-token legendary permanent comes into your control, we can pay one. And if we do, we make a token that's a copy of it. The token gains haste, and we sack it at the beginning of the next end step. This is a really great ability because there are a lot of things that we wouldn't mind having a second copy of it, even just for a turn, and we'd happily pay a mana to do it. This would pair well with some other things if we wanted to build more into it. I haven't, but it is a good way to potentially take the deck for a minor sub-theme of making copies of, things if you want to. Chainer, Nightmare Adept, says you can discard a card. If you do, you could cast a creature from your graveyard this turn, activate only once each turn. And then when another non-token creature enters, if you didn't cast it from your hand, it gains haste until your next turn. So this will allow you to, if a legendary creature dies, or if you have to pitch it to another ability, or you pitch it to Chainer's ability, and for some reason it would be easier to do that, I doubt it, but I mean, hey, you pitch a cheap legendary to Chainer to play something else, then next turn, right, you could pitch something to play it off of Chainer. Kellogg is a card that works really well for both parts of our strategy. First Strike and Haste probably pairs pretty darn well with Vigilance, Indestructible, and Lifelink, right? When it attacks, you make a treasure, you could sack 5 treasures just to gain control of a creature for as long as you control Kellogg. Kellogg seems like a great thing to put Dihada's ability on every turn, especially if you really want to be getting those treasures and really want to be stealing things that way. Lae'zel works great with Dihada because it cares great about anything that's getting counters. Whenever you put one or more counters on a creature or planeswalker you control or on yourself, you get that many +1, meaning that Dihada's +2 becomes a +3. Easier way to get it up there even quicker. Ratadrabik Verboard just feels right. Ratadrabik's a great commander in its own right for a Legendary Matters deck, and it feels great here. Whenever another legendary creature we control dies, create a token that's a copy of it, except it's not legendary and is a 2/2 zombie in addition to its other types. I love Ratadrabik. I'm meaning to go back to Ratadrabik, and I think I'm going to for Duskmourn and go back to it. It's a commander that I've enjoyed in the past building and having fun with, and it has some fun combo lines, but I think it's great as a workhorse piece here just to protect your legendaries, and when they die, you get a copy of them. Shanid, Sleeper Scourge, the alternate commander from Dihada's Precon when it came out back in Dominaria United. Other creatures, legendary creatures we control have Menace, and then whenever you play a legendary land or cast a legendary spell, you draw a card and you lose a life. Way to just draw some extra cards, get some more things going into your hand. The Peregrine Dynamo combos really well with Dihada. Copy target activated or triggered ability you control from another legendary source that's not a commander. You may choose new targets to the copy. Now, there are, of course, a lot of other legendary things that we can choose to copy their activated or triggered abilities, but I just realized it says that's not a commander, so we can't copy Dihada. But, okay, we can copy everything else in the deck, and I mean, there's a lot of great triggered abilities in the deck. I think that lessens my opinion of Peregrine Dynamo slightly, but hey, that's why we do this. That's why we build the decks. That's why we try them out, and so we understand these interactions, and we know how to value our cards. Tomic, Wielder of Law, has affinity for Planeswalkers, Flying and Vigilance, and it says whenever an opponent attacks with creatures, if two or more of those creatures are attacking you or Planeswalkers you control, that opponent loses 3 life and we draw a card. A way to both protect Dihada and discourage our opponents from attacking it. And then everybody's favorite good boy, Yoshimaru. Whenever another legendary permanent comes in, put a counter on it, and it can get big. I love Yoshimaru. It's a great thing to get down in the early game and just watch it grow. It's also a great target for Dihada because as it just gets bigger, it becomes even harder to deal with. As far as Legends Matters goes, there's a lot of legendary spells, right, that require you to have a legendary creature or planeswalker out. You have things like Urza's Ruinous Blast that exiles all non-land permanents that aren't legendary. This is a great potential one-sided board wipe, especially because I think I'd happily give up a mana rock or two to nuke everybody else's mana rocks and still keep all of my creatures. Search for Glory is a fun tutor, allowing you to get a snow permanent, a legendary card, or a saga, and put it to your hand. Basically, what we're going to be looking for is any of the legendary cards we have in our deck and that we might need, get it and put to our hand. And then Primeval's Glorious Rebirth, just bringing all legendary permanents from your graveyard back to the battlefield. Great way to recover after a board wipe, or just get a bunch of things back that you discarded or had gotten there through various other effects. As far as Treasures Matter goes, there's a lot of ways you could interpret this. What I tried to do is take a look at all the legendary creatures that just care about treasures and see if they all pay off. You have Kalain, when it comes in, makes a treasure, and it says that other creatures you control that enter the battlefield with additional +1/+1 counter on them for each mana from a treasure that was spent to cast them. So if we're using things like Kellogg or Dihada to make treasures and using those treasures to cast creatures, now they're coming in with counters on them. Kambal is going to make us copies of opponents' tokens once per turn if they make them. And then when tokens come under our control, one or more, the opponent loses life and gain life. This is particularly great for our opponents, Smothering Tides or making clues or things like that. Just a way for us to copy their tokens. But every time that we make a token, we're going to be, pinging them for a little bit of life. Olivia makes sense because a lot of our legendaries in the decks are assassins or pirates or rogues. You notice some of them are, especially assassins, right? With all the great stuff we just got from Assassin's Creed, we could play into this even more if we wanted to. But whenever one or more outlaws we control deal damage to a player, we make a treasure, and we could sack 2 treasures to put 2 counters on every creature we control as a sorcerer. This works great with Dihada, right? Dihada could -3, get us a couple treasures, and you can immediately use them to stack your whole board up with counters. Vihan, Goldwalker, by the same right, giving all other outlaws we control vigilance and haste, and then in the beginning of our combat we can turn all of our treasures into 3/3 creatures, which is great, right? Giving them vigilance and haste and allowing them to attack. Vihan works really well with Olivia and anything else that's making treasures for us. And then probably one of my favorite treasure payoffs in Reign of Riches. So it comes in giving you 2 treasures, And then the first spell you cast every turn with treasure as mana for it gets Cascade. And this allows you to just get into some fun things, get more things for your value, and really try to get more value out of the things you're doing. We are a Mardu deck at the end of the day, so we can really utilize things like treasures and these extra value to just really push ourselves forward and get more things on board that our opponents have to deal with. But I've said it before on the show and I'll say it again. No deck's ever complete. This is my version 1.0 shot at it, which means I think there's a lot of things we could learn in testing, specifically about what we need to value from legendary creatures. Do we want to pay off more into the outlaws and, care more about assassins and things like that? Day of Destiny is a card that I think makes a ton of sense. Buffing all of our legendary creatures is legendary, so it would get around things like Urza's Saga. I like the card. I just honestly couldn't find a spot for it over some other things that I really liked. I chose to value something like Flowering of the White Tree over it, which is 2 mana less, gives a +2/+1 and ward 1 buff to legendaries instead, but gives a regular +1/+1 to non-legendaries. I just think I valued it a little bit more. I'm sure the argument's there to just play both, but again, it was tough finding the spot for it. Caretaker's Talent feels like it belongs in this deck. Drawing you a card every time you make a token, eat once each turn, copying the token, and then all your creatures getting +2/+2 your tokens. Just feels like it belongs in the deck, but again, I just couldn't find a spot. I was trying to get so many legendaries in this deck to really matter for what we're trying to do that I think Caretaker Talent probably comes in. I'm just not sure where. And then Maha just feels like it makes sense. This card is punishing to deal with. Coming in and making all your opponent's creatures base toughness 1 means that it becomes harder for them to attack, especially if they're going to get chump blocked and things like that. I like Maha a ton. I think it's a great cost for what it is as a card. I just wasn't sure if it was worth playing over something that maybe might be more synergistic, right, in its slot. So I think these are 3 cards that I just would take a heavy look at into testing. But let's get into our play tests. Round 1, we have a 3-lander with 2 mana rocks, a Cassandra, Eagle Bearer. This is a new legendary from Assassin's Creed. When it comes in, we get to search our graveyard, hand, or library for a card named the Spear of Leonidas and put it on the battlefield. And then whenever a creature you control with a legendary equipment attached to it deals combat damage to a player, we draw a card. So it goes and fetches the spear, and then we get attached to the spear the next turn, right, and start drawing off of it with Cassandra. And then Big Score, just a way to make some treasures, draw some cards. I mean, it's this kind of, treasure support that helps out us making sure we have enough treasure things to matter. And we draw that Kellogg, which is great. We'll get that Nomad Outpost in turn 1. It's going to come and tap no matter what, so we might as well get it out of the way. Turn 2, we see Raucous Theater, which is a tap land that lets us surveil 1 when it comes in. But I think I really want to get a land down this turn. I could Dihada next turn, or I could go for something like Raucous Theater and Cassandra next turn. There's a lot of lines. It's not like Dihada necessarily always wants to come out exactly on turn 4 because we want to find a way to protect it, right? Like, sure, here on turn 3, someone may not have too many great attackers for Dihada. But at the same time, I think it's worth protecting. I think I kind of like the idea of... Only because if I play the Springs, I can go Talisman of Indulgence into Cassandra. If I play the Theater, I can just play Cassandra. So I think it makes sense to solve for Springs, Indulgence, and then Cassandra. And Cassandra's going to go ahead and search my library for that spear. And there are a couple other legendary equipments in the deck. It's not like Leonidas is the only one, but Leonidas is just a very good one. Equips for 2, and when the equipped creature attacks, you get to choose either getting Double Strike, making Phobos, a legendary 3/2 red creature token, or discarding 2 and drawing 2. It's a couple of great abilities. If we draw an untapped land, we can play Dihada and equip the Leonidas. Otherwise, I think I'm still content to just equip the Leonidas, get something like Kellogg down, and just get the party rolling. But let's see what we got. Turn 4, we draw Flowering of the White Tree. So, okay, that's okay. I think we're going to get the Raucous Theater down here. We get to scry 1, showing Boros Charm, which I'm plenty happy to keep on top. So we've got 5 mana. I could White Tree and, equip the Leonidas. I could White Tree and Kellogg's. Kellogg would come down as a, 5/3 with the White Tree out with Ward 1. On turn 4, there's probably a good chance that Kellogg gets in somewhere. Same thing with Cassandra. It could have attacked last turn. I apologize. I wasn't even paying attention. I think I like the idea of... So whenever it attacks, it gets a treasure. Okay. I kind of like the idea of getting the Leonidas just on it or Cassandra. I guess it doesn't particularly matter. I'll get it on Kellogg because I like its ability a little bit more. And a double striking 3-2 is something that someone may want to block. But on attack, I think I'm just going to make Phobos get another creature in, right, to care about other abilities. Now, if I can pick someone on turn 4 for this 3-2 with double strike, because that's the one I'm picking, right? Or I picked Phobos, sorry. So if I can get a 3-2 with first strike in somewhere, I think I'm happily going to do it. Let's say I do, so I draw a card, right? Draw that Boros Charm like that. Now we're at a good spot again. We can move the Leonidas around, but we got another creature on our board, another legendary, in case we have any things that come into a legendary matters. Turn 5, we get an untapped land, which is great. So if we go 4 into Dihada, I've got 3 mana left. I kind of like the idea of flowering, but I also like the idea of leaving Boros Charm open. I just realized I can, right? 2 for flowering, leave 1 and the treasure up. I would just go ahead and tick up Dihada. Give Kellogg, lifelink, vigilance, and indestructible. Right? That's basically my mana for her. Kellogg is a 5-3, and I'll give it that double strike again. I guess I could discard draw 2, but I'll give it the vigilance, or I'll give it the double strike again. And someone's gotta block it. I mean, I'd love a world where on turn 5 I get this thing in unblocked, but I'm gonna doubt it. I'm gonna doubt that happens. I'm sure I'm probably just gonna hit somebody for 5, right? Because their creature's probably just gonna die on first strike, gain the life, and we'll just hold the Boros Charm up, just in case someone tries to get in towards Dihada or wipe the board. Coming back to our turn, Monumental Henge is going to come in tapped, unfortunately, because we don't have a plains, but we could start using this to search for historic cards off the top. We have Ruinous Ultimatum mana on here on turn 6, and this could be tough for our opponents. Destroying all non-land permanents our opponents control, this could really set them back. Take a big attack with Kellogg. Sorry, we would have gotten another treasure last turn when it attacked. That could be a way to consider doing. We could also just -3 Dihada here and see what happens, see if it affects our decision at all. Maybe we want to get more things down. I mean, we do have the Boros Charm to potentially just protect our board, right? I guess if I'm going to ruin this ultimatum, then obviously I'm probably not going to -11. So let's remove 3 load counters and let's do Dihada's -3. Let's see what we could get in this scenario that might change my mind on what to do. So we get to reveal the top 4: Sorin, Blackgate, Sabai Triome, and an Adeline. Remember, we played our land for turn, I'm pretty sure, so we can't play... we can't get the lands back anyway. So we can put these legendaries back in our hand, but if we don't, we get a treasure. So we're getting 2 treasures no matter... Honestly, I want both of these, 4, 5, 6, 7. I have enough to play both of them. I kind of want both of them. Making 2 more treasures, and they aren't tapped. So we can use the treasures this turn. 7 mana. I mean, I honestly don't just see a world where I don't just play both of these. Tick up the Sorin, hit somebody for 1, just gain a life. But the good part is now everything has lifelink right now on my turn. And Sorin can start bringing creatures back. So now everything gets... All my legendaries getting +2, +1, and lifelink. Adeline is at what, 1, 2, 3, 4, a 4/4 right now. But once we attack, right, we're getting those 1/1s. Now we're in a great space. We move to attack again. I would probably give Kellogg double strike again. Now that it has lifelink, right? Just try to get in for damage wherever we can. Phobos can attack, here, right? Adeline can't attack because it doesn't have haste, but that's okay. Because I think the lifelink everywhere else is going to be enough. We still have the mana up for Boros Charm to protect the board, which probably just gain a ton of life, right? And we keep the Boros Charm up for the board wipes, and then next turn I think we just ruin this ultimatum and just push the envelope even more. That's 7. We'd still have a couple mana left. We could try to do something else. Sorin only allows... only allows things to come back from our graveyard, so we could... we'd probably want a +2 Dihada next turn, right? To, get more of a buff. But my thought here is if we can get Kellogg in somewhere to draw the cards, we draw the cards. Otherwise, I mean, we just gain a ton of life, and we're probably in a really good position. But let's get into playtest number 2, keeping a 1, 2, 3 lander. With a Felwar Stone Lotho, whenever a player casts their second spell each turn, we lose life and make a treasure. Vihan, which can turn on those treasures. And then Ob Nixilis, the adversary, just seems fun. Planeswalker that can deal some damage. We can get a copy of it with Casualty. I don't mind this one. We draw a Raucous Theater turn 1. So we have 2 tap lands. I mean, I don't see myself doing anything turn 1, so I kind of think about putting that Raucous Theater down. We see a Tali. Tali's a great one. I mean, we have to get up to 6 mana. We're looking at 5 at the moment, so we'll have to get there, but I think we can. Turn 12, play the Command Tower. I guess the option is Lotho or Felwar Stone. I don't really see Lotho bringing me too much value at the moment. What am I looking to do next turn? If I Felwar Stone this turn, at the moment, all I can do is play, one of the other cards next turn. If I Lotho, if I Felwar this stone next turn again, yeah. Or I can, I think no matter what, I'm going to kind of only have so much mana. So let's Lotho, I guess, just in the off chance that somebody double spells on turn 2. I doubt it, but it's never a bad idea to hedge for it just in case. Turn 3, we see Kadric. So Kadric is pretty cool, right? Copying these when they come down. I think we just Exotic Orchard. Yeah, if I Exotic Orchard, I could have Felwar Stone. Yeah, well, I only had 2 mana last turn anyway. Trying to think. I could Blackgate plus Felwar Stone and then hold it up around now. I've got mana, +1 for Dihada next turn. Or I Exotic Orchard into Vihan, but I can't necessarily cast Dihada next turn. I think I'm going to go Blackgate into Felwar Stone. Let's say that one person, double spelled around the table. Come back to our turn, turn 4, 5 mana. There's the Leonidas, right? We just didn't get to see Cassandra first this time. And I think I'll Dihada, and I'll just +2 her to, give Lotho that Vigilance, Lifelink, Indestructible, take an attack, gain some life. It would just be dependent on someone having one of our 3 colors, right, between the Orchard and the Felwar Stone. I guess I could also play a 2 mana, but I don't. But that's okay. We'll go around the table. Again, we'll say that one more person double spells at least. Shine Shadow and tap, so 5, 7 mana. Love the idea of a Tali and getting it going. Love the idea of a couple other things, but I think I kind of wanted Dihada here to do the -4 and see, or the -3, and see what we could find here. Do we find anything that changes our turn? We see Brina, Kambal, Plaza of Heroes, and Mox Amber. Mox Amber, great here since we have lots of legendary creatures. Well, Plaza has to go, right? It only gives us the option to take legendary things back. So we have Kambal, Brina, who can get pretty big in the air, and then Mox Amber. I think I'm taking the Amber no matter what. Kambal feels good in the state we're in. We also have things like this that can pay off from, from tokens being made. And I think I'm just going to Dome Brina, or pitch Brina. So that was before we cast anything from the turn, so 5 mana plus 3 treasures. We'll play the Mox Amber, because this is now tapping for all of our colors. And I'm kind of thinking what? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I guess maybe something like a Tali, set it up for next turn. I guess it's my thought. It is turn 5. It's not a bad blocker for us. Let's say going around the table, we get at least 1 more treasure. I think it's probably more than that, but let's just stay on the safe side and say it's just 1, and I haven't used them yet. It could help, people maybe think that I'm holding something in my hand, or that So now I'm untapping with 7 mana. I have Ruinous Ultimatum at him, so if I'm really worried about something on board, now would be the time to just light the board on fire, right, with Ruinous Ultimatum. But if I'm not going to Ultimatum, man, I love the idea of like something like Nexus. It's a card I really enjoy, although it's not, super top tier. Kadric. Be fun to know what I'm going to get off Atali, right, before I make that decision. So I could do that. I could just give we could just do this, give Atali Vigilance and go. We would see what we could get from our opponents. And I think main 2, if they still have a decent board state, I think a Ruinous Ultimatum could just push us darn close to game. If not, I would just like Kumbal into Vihan. I know that I could have Vihan before combat and turned these all into 3/3s, but I think I like this combination. If I'm not gonna Ruinous Ultimatum, if I'm gonna Ruinous Ultimatum, I think we just do it there. But let's just say that there isn't a board state there that we want to do that for. Do these two. We may potentially, pick some up after over our opposing players' turns. But I think here, we didn't last turn, we definitely do it this turn. And then Vahan turns these on to 3/3s. We're just in for a big attack that turn. But let me know. What do you think of Dihada down in the comment section below? Interesting deck. One of my friends in my play group does play this. It's an interesting deck. I don't get to see it a ton. But really just looking at the creatures here, because I didn't get to completely show it off in the PowerPoint, just trying to play something interesting from Bloomborough. Mabel fits in well with that. Cassandra giving you another legendary equipment to play there. Cruel Claw feels great, just cheating those things off the top. For you, Flint feels great from OTJ, since we have a lot of creatures that stack up in that Outlaws category. Again, I like the deck. It seems interesting. I thought I'd play a few Planeswalkers as well, since they do count. Eternal Wanderer for the board wipe. Quintorius Canned for some ability to go deep on the Discover, and then Ob Nixilis probably is the weakest of the 4 for what we're trying to do, but just fun nonetheless. Let me know, what do you think of Dihada in the comments section below, and I will catch you guys next time.